Hello everyone, I am the Weather Dude. Welcome back, and today we are going to be taking a look at a whopper of a storm that we have out there in the Caribbean right now. We have Hurricane, it is now a hurricane, yes, Fiona, and it is currently impacting Puerto Rico and getting ready to, if not already, impacting the Dominican Republic, and it will continue to move to the north and northwest. So we're just going to jump right into it here. Again, here you can see it as on the satellite imagery. Let's look right here. And again, there you can see a very impressive storm on the satellite. You can see it's also a little bit of convection, but that's just how some of the storms go. Sometimes we get these bursts of convection, and then they kind of wane themselves out. The storm kind of rains itself out, if you will. But it is nonetheless a very healthy looking storm. Now, in terms of the strength and how is it going to look, well, let's just say it's not going to weaken anytime soon because it's going to kind of finagle itself kind of right between the islands, maybe scrape the eastern coast of Dominican Republic. But if you look at the elevation map of the Dominican Republic, most of the mountains, if not like all the higher elevation, is like over here. So if the storm were to get killed, it would kind of come over here, but it's not. So it's going to completely or just stay over very low elevation land. So not much is going to happen to this. And then we're going to watch it continue to trek sort of in this direction. But you can see Puerto Rico is definitely on that east side, feeling that storm surge right now. Sustained winds are about 85 miles an hour, and definitely expect the wind radius of this storm to grow. And I'm going to talk to you more later about why that matters. But you can see the center is sort of right in there. It definitely doesn't have like an eye yet, but as it continues to intensify to Cat 2 and probably even Cat 3 status, you're gonna notice that start to happen potentially here. But again, outflow boundaries look pretty good, right? I mean, the storm definitely looks like it's breathing a lot. Not much wind shear at the moment, although it does get a little. We do see a little bit of conflict up here. But again, that's something for a little bit later on. So again, here it is. Pressure is 986 millibars, so pretty low. Winds are at 85 miles an hour, and it's moving northwest at about 9 miles per hour. All right, so here it is on the interactive map. Whoa, okay, there we go. All right, so you can see tropical storm force winds, basically the entire island of Puerto Rico, and western Puerto Rico is actually seeing the hurricane force winds. So basically, the breakdown is this is tropical storm force winds, and then in the green is like kind of like your strong tropical storm, like your higher end tropical storm force winds. So anything between 58 and 73, and then that orange, well, you guessed it, that's the hurricane force winds. And again, it's only on the east side. It's not really like wrapping around, if you will. So it's just maybe you could call it a little bit of a wind east loaded system, right? All the winds on the east side, because on the west side, really not much there. All right, so that's how it took it right now. Again, we do have hurricane warnings though for pretty much all of Puerto Rico and eastern Dominican Republic here, and even some hurricane watches. Maybe going a little north of Santiago, and then tropical storm warnings for the Turks and Caicos here. All right, so we're going to be watching this as it tracks to north and west. Now, do keep in mind that you guys, considering this storm is, again, the wind is east side loaded, that this storm will be passing to your east, which means you'll be west of it. So maybe not much for you guys, but again, we're going to watch, again, for any, subtle changes in the track. And yes, Bermuda, that's going to be a different story because it's not going to be too far away from you. And with the rate that wind radius is growing in, Bermuda could see some hurricane force winds, or at the very least, some stronger tropical storm force winds as the storm passes pretty close to there. And they're definitely in the cone of uncertainty, so that automatically means we got to watch out. Now, how strong will it get? Well, the latest advisory calls for about 125, so again, very close to a Cat 4. I mean, somewhere in between here, it might get to a Cat 4. I mean, it doesn't show. It depends on the hour increments. But looking like a Cat 3 on a stronger end of one. And then gusts could reach 155 miles an hour before it starts to slowly, weaken off as it heads to the north. And why I said the wind radius matters so much is because there will be waves along the east coast. I mean, from Florida to Maine, you guys are going to feel it. All right, especially as the storm moves to the north, the storm's going to grow in size. It's going to strengthen. Not only that, it's going to combine with a frontal system, and thank God for that frontal system, because if it had not been there, who knows where this thing would have gone? Maybe this direction, hint, hint. But yes, the frontal system will help to clear it out. Right, so you can see the frontal system right here. That's going to eventually take place, and then kind of sweep the storm towards the east out to sea. All right, so that's good news for the U.S. because we definitely don't want any. We've had enough in the past like 5 or 6 hurricane seasons in the U.S. We don't need another one. All right, so tropical storm force winds. All right, so arrivals, Dominican Republic, either like in a couple hours, and I'm recording this right now at 6:20 p.m. Eastern. So either in a couple hours or maybe like overnight tonight, you'll see those tropical storm force winds. All right, maybe like towards overnight. So that's earliest reasonable, most likely, again, somewhere around Monday morning maybe. So between overnight tonight and early tomorrow morning, Dominican Republic, you guys are going to start to see those winds. And eventually, Turks and Caicos, maybe later Monday and early Tuesday, maybe the Bahamas later in Tuesday. So, and the storm's going to continue to move to the north. So earliest reasonable arrival time around Thursday between 8 and 11 p.m. 8:11 a.m. on Thursday for Bermuda. And most likely arrival time, towards the afternoon. So again, between 8 a.m. and 2 p.m., Bermuda could expect those winds. Right? And again, for tropical storm force winds, Bermuda is in that 70 to 80% range. So, and we're not too far off from 80 to 90%. So, they got about a 3/4 of a chance to see tropical storm force winds. So, Bermuda's definitely not out of it either. But Puerto Rico and Dominican Republic is where it's really hitting right now. And we will definitely zoom in on there in a little bit. Hurricane force winds, Bermuda, again, not out of the question at all. You're in that 20 to 30% chance range, but not far off from 30 to 40%. So again, maybe about a fourth of a chance to see hurricane force winds, but that could go up as the storm gets closer. Right? You can see these colors wane off as time goes on because there's more uncertainty of where the storm goes, how strong it is. But Puerto Rico, Dominican Republic, you're in those hurricane force winds. If you're anywhere in this orange color, you're pretty much going to see the hurricane force winds, and that's what it's showing here. Now, rainfall total. So this is a good map to start off with. All right, we're going to read the messages here in a little bit, but just to zoom in. Now, you can't see the numbers, but I can. So, it's a little blurry, but I will be able to read them out to you. So in terms of the rain forecast for this storm, so let's start in the lower end. So anywhere in that green that you see, that's about 4 to 5 inches of rain. So automatically, the entire island, at least 4 inches. I think that's a lot of rain. And especially for the mountainous areas that we have over here, this rain is not going to hold up well. But that's just the start. All right. Your next shade down is 5 to 6 inches. The yellow, we have 6 to 8. All right. This kind of, beige color, if you will, that's 8 to 10. Orange, that's 10 to 12 inches of rain. Our second shade of orange is 12 to 14. All right. We got 14 to 16 inches in that color of red there. 16 to 18 in that first shade of purple. 18 to 20 in the second shade, and 20 to 25 inches of rain for the last shade of purple on the southeast part of the island. So 2 feet of rain, all right, that is pretty insane. And this is valid from this morning all the way through, what is that? I think that's Tuesday or Wednesday, I think. I have lost all concept of time. Yes, so that is Wednesday, okay. So yeah, so basically from this morning to Wednesday morning, this is the rainfall totals. And honestly, anywhere in the island, even 4 inches, that's a lot of rain to get. All right, so but anywhere in the yellow and then points, east and south from there, that's over 6 inches of rain. All right, and that in and of itself is is too much. All right, so that is definitely not going to be good there. So hurricane conditions are expected to begin in portions of the warning area. So Dominican Republic tonight, and like I said, tonight into Monday. And tropical storm conditions will be reaching there this evening. So basically, it'll start this evening and then go downhill from there. So heavy rains for Puerto Rico tonight, and then over Dominican Republic later today into Monday. Catastrophic, life-threatening flooding, of course. Mudslides and landslides, again, in those areas of higher terrain, like I mentioned. And then Fiona will strengthen as it moves away, and tropical storm conditions are expected in the Turks and Caicos and maybe even parts of the Bahamas late Monday and early Tuesday, and then Bermuda from there. All right, so storm surge is actually, now this is interesting because it was actually released today. I wouldn't be surprised if it was a little higher than this, all right, but 1 to 3 feet, again, I would be surprised if a couple areas got over 3 or 5 feet because it is not a tropical storm anymore. It is a hurricane, and it's strengthening, pretty fast. So especially towards the western side of the island where they're still feeling that eastern force of the storm, if you will, maybe between Cabo Rojo to Ponce. I don't know how to pronounce these, so forgive me. Maybe even over Guayama too. Anywhere in these areas, the storm is sort of over here, so you're still feeling that south flow, that south and southwest flows. So definitely keep in mind there still will be water rises. And remember, this is on top of like 1 to 2 feet of rain, and then we're gonna get even storm surges 1 to 3 feet. That's still a bunch more water that we do not need. So don't think just because the storm surge may seem light. And again, I personally think it could be higher than this just because of how much the winds have gone up recently. Right, and you can see sort of the mountainous areas. So again, kind of like I drew out earlier, it's kind of in the central part of the island is where most of the, at least from how it appears here, is where some of the mountainous terrains are. So these areas are going to get double whammied or triple whammied because you're going to have the rain. It's going to come down, right? And it's going to hit the ground. We're going to have, especially if you live like on the base of these mountains, I'm talking about like right here, kind of like in this region, right? Because you're going to have rain falling from the sky. You're going to have water coming in from the ocean. And then the rain that falls from that sky is going to go down the mountains, and it's all going to funnel right in here. So definitely expect feet upon feet of water to pile up. All right. And then not to mention, just to add insult to injury, add salt to the wound here, if you will, like 85 with gust over that in terms of winds. I mean, it's just a whole nightmare. Right. Now, the reason Fiona got really strong, right? Because, it was like a 60-mile-an-hour tropical storm, and then it's like, you look today, it's like 85. And I don't think that's rapid strengthening. I don't think we saw rapid intensification, possibly, but I don't think it strengthened quickly enough. But you can see that the tropical cyclone heat potential is there. We're talking about values between like 110 and like 130. So, I mean, when it tracked, like it's going right here, I mean, it definitely got into some of that oceanic heat content. Because remember, warm sea surface temperatures are good and almost a necessity for a hurricane to have. But what's even better is when you go under the water and, deeper down, and we're still seeing a lot of heat. And that's what the hurricane's really like. Now, after it moves on from Puerto Rico and Dominican Republic, and it kind of does its little curve like this, or maybe like more like this, it will start to lose out some of that oceanic heat, but it still will be moderate in here. I mean, we're still talking about like 75 to 100, and sea surface temperatures will still be like in the mid 80s, and then trailing off to the low 80s and then upper 70s. So you're still going to have some warm water to work with in the future. Don't worry. Or do worry if you live in the Dominican Republic and Puerto Rico. So let me reload this. I don't know why it looks like that. So again, here is the sea surface temperature. So the storm right now is sitting at about 85 degree water. That's insane. It's going to continue to track up 85, 86 even. And even as it passes through Bermuda, still low to mid 80s. All right. I mean, it won't be till it gets to like, if we're talking about latitude speaking, maybe on the same level as like, New Jersey, that it reaches those 70s in terms of water temperature. So remember, you're going to have the Gulf Stream current that runs up here and sort of like this. So yeah, we still got a long ways to go with this system. Even when it's done with Puerto Rico and Dominican Republic, it's got to hit the Turks and Caicos, then the Bahamas, and then possibly even Bermuda. So wind shear, now this is where I said things can get a little choppy for the system, at least according to this map, because it looks like we're still seeing some wind shear. Now, most of it is off to the east, right? I mean, the storm only has to go through like this little bit, and it's about 30 or 40 knots. Now, that is a lot, and that is enough to hold a storm back. But remember, it is a hurricane. It's not like it's a little tropical storm, because if it was, this thing would be like decimated in 2 seconds. But, we're starting to see some more, less wind shear kind of an environment start to build in, if that makes sense, right? We're starting to see wind shear weaken off here. So it looks like it's still holding up there. And I mean, it's been staying the same the past 24 hours, but it's coming down. And I think that's why the National Hurricane Center is still forecasting that strengthening. Not to mention the super warm waters that we still have. And there's really no dry air much either. So at least at the moment. So here is the latest aircraft reconnaissance. There's like a brand new one that's like flying in with like no data yet. But this one, this was done recently today, like around 1:30-ish Eastern time. Somewhere in that realm, and they did find pressure's getting down around 987, although they did find 985. I'll show you in that other graph in a minute. But again, here's your flight level hurricane winds near the center of the storm, and then just off to the east and northeast. That's where they found those hurricane force winds, and that did translate to the surface. Because let's look at this. So again, here's your 985, almost like 983 or 984 is what they have found on those pressures there. And you can see though, this is a sign that maybe an eye could be starting to develop even a few hours ago, because if you look at the time where the pressure dropped to the lowest, the wind also did drop to the lowest, right? Because as we know, the winds are very calm inside of an eye. but they weren't that calm because they were still between, they were still around like 15 to 25 knots. So that's still like, 20, 30 miles an hour. That's not by any means calm. If it was an eye, like the winds would be like down here. All right. So, but again, that drop does correlate with the drop in pressure. So that could mean something. All right. And as you can see here, we did also find, of course, not too long after that, like maybe like 20 minutes after that, and they kept flying around. There's your peak. All right. So we saw like that dip as we got in closer to the center, and then the peak over here. And remember, 64 knots, like it probably needs to be, this is like the hurricane threshold down here, maybe like right here. So it did get above that. It got to like between 65 and 68 knots is what they found on the surface. All right, and it was not a suspect SFMR. It was like, collective surface wind data. So they did find winds of over that hurricane force, but they made it 85 in the update. So it did get pretty strong. Now, there is a general agreement in the models, okay? And the agreement is that's going to go somewhere in this area. So Bermuda, you are not safe because, if a storm is that close, even a storm with a small wind radius, could impact Bermuda with that kind of track. And this storm is going to be no exception. And it's not going to have a small wind radius. Again, Bahamas, like the northern Bahamas, I think you guys should be fine. It's just the southeastern Bahamas and the Turks and Caicos, you guys might have some problems. And of course, Dominican Republic in less than 24 hours, if not actually starting right now. If we look at the strength in the process, you can see pressures will, and I've been looking through models today, and they've been agreeing on this, like between 940 and 950 millibars of pressure. So even if the wind doesn't continue to rapidly strengthen, the pressure is going to go down, and that storm's going to expand. All right, and it will expand. And at its closest point to the United States, the East Coast, whether that be maybe like around here, that's where you're going to notice the most impact. Now, because of that front that's going to be coming through, you're going to see more of a northerly wind effect, but that doesn't mean the waves are going to magically go away. The waves will still be there, and there still will be beach erosion. I just don't think there'll be coastal flooding because there'll be more of a north wind to kind of protect from that. But that does not protect from beach erosion and still dangerous rip currents on the East Coast. Again, just because that frontal system's coming through, the winds will be coming more out of the northwest, and that's going to kind of push the water offshore. Now, let's look at so that was the GEFS model tracks. Of course, we had some other models here. Now, this is the GEPS, so kind of like the Canadian variant. Or, I'm sorry, another variant of the GEFS, so the GEPS. And, there you go. Now this one sort of has tracks closer to home, or closer to the U.S. I don't really think it's going to get that close. If the front were to some reason completely stall over the U.S. right now, then it had time to get closer, but I don't think that's going to happen. Again, I think just general consensus is right here. And Bermuda, I can barely see it, but I think it's right there. So this one brings a little bit further west, which would be more ideal for Bermuda, but not exactly ideal for the East Coast. That's just more waves and more, beach horror for you guys. But I don't think, as many people are at the beach on the East Coast, thank goodness, right? But I'm sure there are still people, especially, if, people that are maybe, retired or took off for the weekend, still might be at the beach. So just be very careful. There could be, obviously, again, the rip currents and the dangerous waves. Now, how long could it be a major hurricane for? Well, a lot of the models are forecasting to be a major hurricane by around 2-ish days from now, and that could last until 5 days from now. So that's about a 3-ish day window that it could be a major hurricane. And some models are even, it's not an outlier exactly, but skimming the line of a Cat 4. And that's kind of like what the National Hurricane Center did, like sort of right here, if you will, kind of like right here, kind of skimming Cat 4, but not quite. So the models, this is generally what the National Hurricane Center has, and it's slowish weaken. It's going to slowly weaken, and then once it gets to like, the same latitude as like New England, it gets in those colder waters, it's going to completely drop off. All right, so these models do seem pretty fair here. I don't know about these guys. They show a weakening. Now, my guess is these models are looking at that area of wind shear that I showed you earlier. Maybe they're accounting in for that, but those seem to be a little bit of an outlier for now. Now, as we head towards the end of this video here, let's take a look at the H-Wharf. Again, look at that. Just look at the storm expand out. You can see it expand out. A lot of rain for the Puerto Rico and Dominican Republic. GFS as well. Look at that storm just kind of expand out. And you can sort of see the frontal system kind of coming in and kind of swooping in offshore. You can see it kind of kicking in right there. All right, so there it is, and then it really races off. That's how you know the frontal system's behind it. All right, and then we get high pressure coming in. Things are going to cool down. And then the East Coast, or at least the Mid-Atlantic and Northeast, is going to see temperatures 10, 15 degrees below average. Nice for Friday and Saturday, or next Friday and Saturday, I should say. Some cooler air coming in. All right, now let's take a look actually at the rainfall totals, because rainfall totals will be pretty high. And again, this is from this morning till about the rest of the storm. Puerto Rico, again, 612, if not more, inches of rain. Eastern Dominican Republic, over 6 inches of rain. And even Bermuda, whether that's from, I don't know if that's actually from other storms or just from this one. Let me see. No, that's about all from Fiona. So Bermuda, you could still find yourself in about 4 or 5 inches of rain. All right, even if the worst of it, quote unquote, worst, stays off to your west. So again, bottom line here, Puerto Rico, Dominican Republic, especially eastern half of it, you're going to be feeling it now and into Monday. Turks and Caicos Monday into Tuesday, and then Bermuda possibly around Wednesday or Thursday. Right, so definitely be on the lookout for that if you live in any of those places. If you got family there, definitely let them know. All right, so again, here we are. So yeah, Bermuda around Thursday. Yeah, so definitely be on the lookout. Again, there's your frontal system coming high pressure, kicking it out. Thank goodness for that high pressure, right? Thank you guys so much for watching this video. Definitely stay safe out there and get ready to feel the brunt of the storm if you live down there in the islands. I am the Weather Dude signing off. Till next time, I'll catch you guys in the next video.